Welcome to Advanced Raster Rendering in MapInfo Pro with ProRaster Essential. ProRaster Essential gives the MapInfo Pro business user access to advanced raster rendering capabilities. For users of the MapInfo Pro Advanced Raster plugin, ProRaster provides a rich, new set of raster rendering capabilities. And if you do not have the MapInfo Pro Advanced Raster plugin, ProRaster will provide a modern, advanced raster rendering capability in MapInfo Pro 2021. ProRaster frees you from all existing restrictions in MapInfo. When you render raster datasets in MapInfo Pro, you've always had to define how those rasters are rendered. And in ProRaster, this is called a raster rendering algorithm. MapInfo Pro ties this information to the raster, meaning that a MapInfo Pro raster layer can only use a single raster, and that raster must be rendered the same way in all maps. ProRaster algorithms provide you with total flexibility and freedom from any of these restrictions. ProRaster provides you with enhanced performance. The raster engine in MapInfo Pro is designed to enable rendering of rasters of unlimited size at any scale in constant time. But the way that engine was integrated into the MapInfo Pro rendering engine has prevented this goal from being achieved. ProRaster algorithms, which take over the responsibility of reprojecting data on the fly, solve the performance problems for raster rendering in MapInfo Pro. ProRaster algorithms provide you with the highest quality. ProRaster always makes sure that you're rendering the best quality data at the most appropriate resolution at all times. It's pixel perfect, it's always correct, it's always presented at its best, and it's under your complete control. It's easy to use ProRaster. Simply drag and drop your raster into ProRaster to get started. It will create a default algorithm, then hit the Publish button to push that algorithm into a map in MapInfo Pro. ProRaster Essential improves on MapInfo Pro in a large number of ways. Let's go through them quickly. Firstly, you can display the same raster in the same session in different maps in different ways, which is currently impossible in MapInfo Pro. You can use any combination of rasters, fields, and bands in your algorithm. There's no restriction on using different fields or rasters within an algorithm. You can drape any raster on any other raster within a layer. Draping provides hill shading. So you can inject hill shading into any imagery or classified rasters, for example. You can clip your algorithms to a complex polygon set when publishing them to MapInfo Pro. You can display raster imagery in true color without any enhancement and drape it on any raster. And you can render classified rasters the way you want without restrictions and drape it on any raster. You can use driver preferences, which are an advanced option, to modify how particular rasters are mounted by the raster engine. This allows you to force the MapInfo Pro raster engine to load rasters using particular drivers or mount them as particular field types as you require it. ProRaster eliminates performance bottlenecks with large rasters by reprojecting on the fly to the map projection and then rendering that data in MapInfo Pro. That eliminates the requirement for MapInfo Pro to reproject the raster. You can render hundreds of related rasters using a single layer in ProRaster. For example, if you have a large number of TIFF files, you can add them all to a single layer and render them using the same properties. ProRaster always acquires data at any scale optimally and applies on-the-fly reprojection to locate that data. You can create default algorithms for rasters and for raster sources. You can edit multiple algorithms simultaneously with a preview window using undo and redo. In the preview map, you can interrogate raster values interactively using your mouse cursor, and it will display a floating tooltip showing the raster values at that point. If the raster engine is unable to interpret the coordinate system of a raster, or if it interprets it incorrectly, and this happens quite frequently, then you can override raster coordinate systems. And you can find the right coordinate projection quickly using the projection selection dialog. There's a growing library of video resources, documentations, and articles on the Roberts Geospatial Engineering website to help you get the most from ProRaster. In ProRaster, there are a wide variety of data transforms for lookup table color layers and for red, green, blue color layers that allow you to transform from data to color. You can exercise fine control over histogram equalization or equal area data mapping using either fast, stable, or gradational transforms with clipping. Sigmoid transforms provide an alternative to linear and histogram equalization transforms and are useful for multispectral satellite data. You can fit the data transform clipping range to the data range that's currently displayed in the preview map. You can create color tables, edit them. You can create color tables with data maps and with legends, which allow you to provide fixed data color transforms. And you can clip your data transform to the limits in multiple combinations, either above and below the limits or within the limits or any combination. ProRaster gives you fine control over hill shading and allows you to balance the amount of color and shading within a layer smoothly. You can also exercise precise control over your data interpolation settings for both color and hill shading separately. And you can render any algorithm in grayscale by just clicking a switch. The raster source editor dialog gives you a mechanism to manage your raster collection. You can access all rasters in a folder via wildcard or in multiple folders and render them using a single layer. You can access rasters that are stored in zip archives, although not all raster formats support this. There are validate, clean, and prepare processing operations. These are used to compute statistics and to build overviews, and they provide options for how those things should be done, whether you use quality or speed, for example. And finally, you can access detailed raster information and statistics from the raster source editor. ProRaster Essential runs on Windows 10 or Windows 11, and you can download it from the Microsoft Store. You will require MapInfo Pro 2021, and it's highly recommended that you apply all the latest patches. ProRaster Essential has modest hardware requirements, but I do recommend 4 GB of RAM and a multi-core CPU.